English translation, 565th contact Friday, the 14th of June 2013, 22:21 hours.
My greetings to you, dear friend. Have you been waiting long? You could also have called me earlier, because I was no longer busy and so I took a short walk around the grounds.
Greetings also, dear friend. No, I also came here only a moment ago after I had informed you that I was coming here. This time tomorrow, Saturday, I also have to do other things than our correction work with Bernadette. And Jana will do the correction work for me on my behalf.
Well, then so be it, and also good. Did you excuse me? The telephone. They are already calling me. It was Madeline. She reminded me that I have to get some bratwurst from the freezer for tomorrow. It will only take a few minutes.
Go ahead.
Here I am again. Everything is done. Do you have some time because I want to ask you something?
Of course, because I came here to talk to you. This also includes questions and answers. But first, I would like to say that there is one more point to be mentioned regarding the competence of the Australian National Group, which I unfortunately forgot to explain because I have a lot of things to think about all the time, so some things simply escape me.
So I am not the only one. Not only do you get older, but as you get older, the human being who thinks sensibly has more and more things to do, and therefore also has a head full of countless things to think about and also to do in other ways.
That hits the heart of the matter. But what I want to say, the whole area that the Australian National Group is to work on, and where they can also sell books and writings, is to cover the whole multilingual area of Oceania. What now?
Sorry if I interrupt you. Oceania? That's where all the many islands of this island world in the Pacific are drawn together as a continent in their own right, so to speak. But what is there in the north with Indonesia, Malaysia, Bali, Micronesia, and Polynesia, which are probably not directly part of, or are they?
That is what I wanted to mention just now. As far as the islands in the north are concerned, they should also be part of the area covered by the Australia Group. However, should a national group be established on one of the islands, it would immediately become independent of the Australian National Group. However, the Australian National Group will only translate and distribute books and writings into English, and only in Australia itself, in Tasmania, New Zealand, and in the now also mentioned island areas. Europe, the USA, South America, Canada, Greenland, Russia, and all former USSR states, Brazil, Africa, Arabia, and mainland Asia are not included.
Then, in the north of the continent of Australia, the mainland states with their own islands in front of their country would be the actual borders, if I understand correctly, such as China, Japan, India, Ceylon or Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Cambodia, Burma or Myanmar, Thailand, both Vietnam, both Korea and Pakistan, etc.
That is correct.
Bernadette can pass this information on to the national group. But what I am particularly interested in today is your last statements you made about the Ashtar Sheran group and the 3 groups you do not know. When you mentioned the 3 groups unknown to you during our last conversation on the 1st of June, I noticed a strange undertone in your voice which I thought was as if you wanted to say more, but you did not.
You are always very attentive, because what you are saying is correct. But unfortunately, because of everything else I had to explain, I have lost the essence of what I wanted to teach you about the unknown groups. Although we do not make any special efforts to find out more about the 3 groups, there are some new insights that we have gained. This has been possible because, on the one hand, we have received new techniques from the people of Ascot, which give us a great many possibilities for many different clarifications. On the other hand, many decades ago, many things had already seemed very strange to us regarding the many. Earth humans who appeared and declared that they would have contact with extraterrestrial beings and also had to spread their messages, whereby they also named strange places of origin or solar systems and planets of the extraterrestrials, of which we knew and also know today that no human beings or human-like life forms exist there. Consequently, we assumed that these statements of the extraterrestrials to their contact persons must have been deliberate deceptions, but we were not able to fathom them. We also assumed that the whole machinations were due to the three groups unknown to us. We then let the whole thing stop and made the mistake of calling all the contact persons known to us through superficial clarifications of memories as real, as you then also made public through the contact conversations. Nevertheless, many strange inconsistencies did not leave us in peace, so we tried to find out more from the contact persons, but we were not allowed to penetrate their consciousness or even their personality analytically, because our directives did not allow us to do so. Consequently, we had to be content to accept the memories released by the contact persons as true. We were not satisfied with this, however, because the strange things that occurred were always disturbing. So we tried to change our directives in order to be allowed to fathom the absolutely personal nature of the contact persons and to penetrate their consciousness and personality in order to gain clarity. But a change of the directives was very long and took years because the absolutely personal nature of the human beings could not be violated. After many years, it was finally decided that in the specific case of clarifying the actual facts concerning earthly contact persons, an absolute exception was made. But this was allowed absolutely only for all those contact persons, as we called them to you, or who were otherwise known to us. No permission was given for further investigations of this kind. And since our technology at that time for the safe exploration of the forms of consciousness and personalities of Earth humans was still lacking in various things, new research was done and new techniques were developed which had to be completely safe. Especially the scientists of Asket and her people were and are much more advanced in such technical developments as we needed them than is the case with us Playaran. So they developed the necessary apparatus and equipment for us, which we then received from them and also used. So now, through our new technical achievements, we have gained new knowledge about these three groups, which are also unknown to us today. And it has to be said that our new apparatus and equipment is one which also serves to clarify many other things in many other areas, and which can therefore also be used in other ways than those which are based on the actual facts of the contactees in relation to the Ashtar Sheran group. So these innovations have also enabled us to see that the groups unknown to us are not three, but four of them. All four groups are quite active worldwide and have been for a very long time, so they can also often be observed by Earth humans. So it also resulted from our investigations that we were able to gain a lot of information about the activities of the four groups. And we had to realize that the activities of these groups are much more extensive than we had known until recently. However, I am only allowed to give you information about this privately if you are interested.
Of course I am. But I have always believed that you control everything in this regard with telemeter discs and also elsewhere in the world.
That is not the case, because our observations and controls relate to completely different things than those which are not our concerns in principle. What we are interested in relates to the geological processes of volcanoes, glaciers, earthquakes, plate tectonics and climatic and natural changes, etc., then also to the development and change of all flora and fauna, as well as to the political effects, military and economic events, etc. This also includes the general development of the consciousness, mind and reason of Earth humans, medicine, politics, and military matters, as well as the worldwide social structure of Earth humanity, all these things being, in our opinion, still very underdeveloped. This also means that we have no interest in official contacts with terrestrial individuals or with governments, etc., because if we seek contacts, then there must be a correspondingly valuable development in all areas and, accordingly, a measure of reasonable action. This, however, is lacking among Earth humans, and in our view it will be many centuries before real reason slowly begins to take hold. In the foreseeable and expedient future, however, this will not yet be the case, for such an undertaking, that understanding and reason are really created, penetrated and nurtured in such a way that malice, torture, wars, addictions, terrorism, and all other evils disappear from the behavior of Earth humans requires a long learning of the creational natural laws and recommendations. These, however, must be taught to Earth humans, for which purpose in modern times the mission has now been brought into being through you and in cooperation with all members of the group, thus spreading the teaching of the truth, teaching of the spirit, teaching of the life. It is also this teaching that can bring about in Earth humans what is necessary for a good and valuable development of consciousness. And only then, when Earth humans are really interested and willing to learn this teaching, can everything slowly change for the better over time.
So I thought wrong about your controls and so on. And what you just said about contacting Earth humans or even governments, etc., that you are not considering this. That should make it clear enough to those who repeatedly think that you might attack the Earth, that you Yaran have no such ambitions, and that you also do not interfere in earthly matters. This is not because of your directives that forbid such things. It would be nice if all the states on Earth also had such directives, according to which one state should not interfere in the affairs of another state, which unfortunately is not the case. When I think of the sleazy skirmishes that the EU and the US are making against the banks and the Swiss state on banking secrecy, and the tax system that is demanded and associated with it, it makes me sick. And the fact that the banks and our national government are being forced to do so is a real blow to our heads, because it means that the banks and the Swiss state will be reduced to a puppet state of the EU and the USA.
What you say is correct. Also with regard to the machinations of the EU and the USA against the banks and the state of Switzerland itself.
Then please tell me now the facts of what you are not allowed to say openly.
What I have to say about this is the following, but you should keep quiet about it.
Of course I keep this information to myself, that is obvious. So the four groups have been active for a very long time. This also explains all those UFO apparitions, etc., that have taken place for a long time and are still happening today, and which have not yet been clarified from the earthly side. But what about the secret military flying objects of various countries, which you also mentioned? Are they so futuristic and highly technical that they can be mistaken for extraterrestrial flying objects by the average citizen?
That is undoubtedly the case.
But then again, a question in relation to these various secret flying objects of various states, which are also called UFOs, and which can also be observed again and again by many people. Since you are concerned with the military interests of the Earthlings, you should know which flying machines they are and which states construct them and let them buzz around.
That is indeed so, yes.
You let yourself be asked everything again before you say more. What kind of machines are they, and to which countries do they concern?
To answer this openly would be against our directives on the one hand, and on the other hand it would be unwise because it could lead to unpleasant machinations and hostilities among the different states. It would also be dangerous to expose these things. But if you insist on knowing for yourself, then...
No thanks, then I do not want to know. But the UFOs, the so-called Foo Fighters, which were observed during the Second World War, were they secret earthly flying machines?
No, we were also able to clarify this. All of them were members of the four groups unknown to us, whose flying apparatus we are also unable to penetrate today with our latest analysis apparatus and equipment.
But what about the fact that so many extraterrestrials are supposed to walk around on Earth and be in the governments and participate, as always claimed by certain people? I cannot really imagine that. If all this is to be accepted as the truth, which has been claimed for decades by alleged contacts, former intelligence officers, government officials, and UFO researchers or other alleged experts in the field, then Earth would have to be teeming with extraterrestrials and all governments would have to be controlled by them. Whether those who claim to be former intelligence officers, governmental UFO researchers, and officially declared UFO enlighteners really belonged or still belong to an intelligence agency, an official UFO reconnaissance organization, etc., I would like to question.
These doubts are also justified. And it is also not really the case that the Earth and its governments are permeated by extraterrestrials, because so far we have not been able to make such statements. In political and military as well as scientific terms, such factors could not have remained hidden from our investigations and observations. But the fact that the four groups unknown to us are active worldwide, as you say, and in many ways, is an absolutely undeniable fact. And what the sense and purpose of their actions are, that is just as unknown to us as whether they are of earthly, future earthly, or extraterrestrial origin. We are also not interested in that because it is not in any of our tasks to get in contact with them or to find out their origin.
So many observations, things, and strange occurrences can be traced back not only to the former Ashtar Sheran group, but also to these four groups.
It was never mentioned, but only that many events and occurrences could be attributed to this Sheran group, from the hypnotic forced contacts to all kinds of unpleasant happenings and strange occurrences.
Of course, but now it is finally clear that the four groups, unknown to you, are very active in different ways. But the question is, will you continue to ignore them, and will you also continue to protect yourselves against sight and detection from them?
Yes, that is clearly the case because we are not interested in any contact with them. And since our latest clarifications and findings, we are now also absolutely sure that these four groups have no knowledge of our real existence. This, if we dispense with unclear assumptions, which are perhaps, or even very likely, because your activity with regard to the dissemination of the contact conversation reports has probably not remained hidden from them.
But again and again there are earthly deceivers, charlatans and swindlers at work around the world who take false photographs of alleged UFOs and claim to have contact with extraterrestrials, physically, telepathically, or through channeling.
This action is nonsensical and known to us.
Either these people are egotistical, schizophrenic, or otherwise out of their minds. But how can it be different with such people than that they are somehow not sane? If the whole thing again, the phone, sorry, it was Bernadette. She says she just found out that in Prague, for a driving school in an underground railway, the spiritual teaching peace symbol is attached in a larger form and is also called a peace symbol.
Delightful, and many thanks for the greeting from Bernadette.
Before I wanted to say, if the whole thing is considered, then these cheats, charlatans, and swindlers in the matter of UFOs are quite pathetic sausages whiners, who are actually to be pitied. But now Professor Tenchu from Almaty in Kazakhstan comes to my thoughts. Mr. Imayo has informed us that he died 3 days ago, only hours after signing a contract for me to translate and publish another book in Russian. He was 92 or 93 years old, and he was the one who started the Billilogy in Almaty, and also created and opened a Billy Museum, where all the books and various other Figu items are exhibited.
It is very unfortunate, but death is the fate of the human being. Express my sincere condolences to Mr. Imayo and the Kazakhstani group in Almaty, but also express my great joy and satisfaction with regard to the learning of the teaching and all the missionary efforts that have been made by the whole group so far. It will also be gratifying for me if, after the passing away of the Honorable Ten Chu, the whole of the teaching and mission is continued.
What you said, I will retrieve and write down immediately after you have left, because then I can still fax it to Christian, so that he can send it to Mr. Imayo by email.
My thanks for that.
I'm happy to do it. What interests me now, during the first time of our contacts, your daughter Simyase talked a lot about the fact that various extraterrestrials come and go on Earth, and that they would also have contacts with Earth humans. How should this be understood now that you found out about the Ashtar Sheran group and were able to clarify the whole thing? Must Simyase's explanations now be connected with this?
That is indeed the case, yes, in every single relation of the names she told you, which according to our latest investigations were connected with the Ashtar Sheran group. These statements of my daughter are of course not connected with those telepathic impulse contacts which we had with Earth humans without their knowledge, nor with those which, intentionally or unintentionally, were made by us with Earth humans, such as the contact of my daughter Simyase with a German named Elsa Schroeder in Persia near Zahedan and with Petra and Anatol. Then the contact that took place in Bolivia, South America, with an extraterrestrial group from a space and time-displaced area of Proxima Centauri between an Athar and Kohun, and a man of German descent. And there may also have been contacts of various kinds between Earth humans and the four groups unknown to us, but we have no clear evidence of this, at least not to date. And what my daughter explained at that time when she talked about contacts with extraterrestrials mostly referred to the activities of the Ashtar Sheran group. But under certain circumstances, also incidents with the unknown groups could have been included. But we have not been able to clarify this until today.
And are you about to do this?
There is no need for us to do this, also because these four groups cannot find any proof of our existence. We are sure that they have no such proof of our presence on Earth to this day, but at most suspect this because we have always held back from them and have not given them the opportunity to establish our existence. This, of course, apart from the fact that we have allowed you to take good pictures of our flying apparatus and to distribute them worldwide. But with this, nothing at all can be proven by these four groups. Just as nothing can be proven for the Earth humans who simply do not want to accept the effective reality and its truth, because they are narrow-minded and want to know everything better than the truth reveals to them. You know these adversaries who still insult your pictures as fakes, even though it has long since been established by expert and knowledgeable persons that there is no doubt about their authenticity, and that they are the best and clearest pictures ever taken of extraterrestrial flying apparatus, and only those that correspond to our Plejarin technique. Consequently, our flying apparatus cannot be compared with other types of flying apparatus, which were and still are photographed by Earth humans as unclear and blurred images of objects. Although it must also be said that often a great deal of deception and charlatanism, and not infrequently a desire for recognition, religious sectarianism and pomposity, are the origins of such photographs. Of course, there are also real photographs of objects that belong to secret earthly flying machines, but also to flying apparatuses of the four groups unknown to us.
Then this is also clarified. Thanks.
If you do not have any more questions, I would like to talk to you in a private way, which is very important to me.
Naturally, dear friend.
Thanks.